Hello, hello, hello. We are live right now. If you guys are around, we can leave comments. I didn't go live on Facebook to avoid some of the comments, but there's comments already coming in. What's up, Total Excellence? The point of this is we're going to go through like a creator's commentary, Cthulhu Invades Neverland. I've got some of the creators here. We're going to go through it real quick. We've done this for the last two. I think it's always been fun. It's always a good time when we get to do these things and kind of hang out together and talk about it. The Cthulhu Invades Neverland, the PDF already got launched, which is really cool. So people have already been reading it and giving us feedback, which is great. It's a very dark one compared to the ones before. So I want to talk about who's in it, what we're doing, how cool it is. You know, we raised $30,000 on it, 32 actually, and we had like 674 backers. And one of the stretch goals was audio commentary. So that's what we're here to do. So I'm going to go around the room, have everybody introduce each other, and then we'll go through the book. We're not going to read the book to you guys, but we're going to talk about people's story. Pete will probably have some insight because he's a proofreader. Obviously, if anybody was in their stories, they'll talk about their stories and how they created their team, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So if you want to avoid spoilers, because you may see some, you don't want to watch us. If you do want to hear kind of a little behind the scenes of how these big anthologies get made, that's what we're here to do. So, Pete, introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Pete Risette. I'm a writer, and I'm the guy that finds all your missing commas.
Nope, sorry.
Wrong Pete.
Well, I actually was trying to mute because there was some background noise, but that didn't work out. It's always James, so I just assumed it was James. See? The background noise is gone because I muted James. It's James. Told you it was. Matt.
I don't hear anything.
Hey, my name is Matt Knowles. I'm one half of Insymmetry Creations, and in this book, we did the story Lost Girl, which is going to be fun to talk about when we get to that point in this conversation.
James.
My name is James Burton, and I got to illustrate a super creepy story about Peter Pan falling for the machinations of old ones.
Nice. And Michael Tremarch.
My name is Michael Tremarch. I'm the writer for Lost and Found, which is a Lost Boys kind of story in the book.
Yeah. So let's bring it up and let's go through this book and kind of talk about it, talk about some of the cool things. We'll be here for a little bit. Wendy Gale, no spoilers. Wendy, you should have already read it. And by the way, you're welcome to come. You're a proofreader if you're available, or your husband, and you did a story. So can you guys see all this?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is our main cover. It has Etienne. Very cool. That's Cthulhu, if you guys didn't know. Tinkerbell and Peter Pan and Hook.
If we're to this point and people don't know who Cthulhu is, they should not be allowed to see the series.
Right. So here's the first fun fact. So I dedicated this one to my son, Remy Gibb. My son, I have a 4-year-old. I've dedicated each of these to my kids. The first one was to my daughter, which was Oz. She was leaving the home for the first time, so that was really touching. The second one was for my daughter, Naomi, because she's wonderful. She's like Alice. She's always creating things and always curious. And then Remy, because he's 4 years old and I never wanted to grow up. Well, today when I saw Pete at the bookstore, I did kind of want him to grow up because he was crying. But normally,
just had to get him a slinky, man. That's
So you're saying that you can't make another book until you have another kid?
That is correct.
That's an awful lot of pressure on Heather.
Yeah, that's an awful lot to ask your wife, man.
You see this book? This is your fault, kid.
So we had a great forward by Dan Connor. Dan Connor's been a good friend of mine recently. He, if you guys don't know, Dan Connor does Nightmare Before Christmas comic book. He is a great local talent who's been doing some stuff, which is very cool. He's the writer of Nightmare Before Christmas, Battle of the Pumpkin King. He's also a colorist. Very cool guy. So it's really good to get some, fairy tale-ish stuff as forward. These are the credits. All of the wonderful people here. I'm not going to read them all. Probably should. But much like a credit on a movie, you got to skip past them. I'll skip past them too. But you shouldn't, because these people are important. I wrote some nonsense here. Heather heavily edited, I'm sure, but it's cool.
I love the color scheme in that table of contents and stuff. That's beautiful.
I have some spoilery stuff right there, but I am afraid to tell it. But there is some spoilery stuff that I can tell off camera about that. But yes, it's very cool background.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out, James, and making me feel awkward. So unlike the other ones, so I'm going to make them big for a minute. Most Tree was in 2 of them. Pete was in all 3. Matt was in all 3. James was in all 3. What we normally do is we kind of ramp up, right? So we start with Cthulhu comes and he does some slow down the scrolling. I think it's good. I'll grab a magnified. Oh, he wants to see his name. Hold on. I was like, why is it scrolling too fast?
Play it back in slow motion.
I know his name's on the first page here. Right here. Here's your name. He owns the book. I don't understand. But whatever.
Do you not have the PDF?
By the way, if you message me on Twitter, I can invite you if you want to come in to talk about your story. Anyways, so unlike go big again. Unlike the other ones that we've done, this one is the war has started. It starts in the war. Normally, when we do these, we don't do that. We kind of build in. We have some little funny scenes about like people being confused about what's coming. This one like starts in like things are dark from the beginning. In fact, this one, be honest, who has read the full book yet? Just me?
I've not read the full book yet.
Peter?
Technically, I've read it a few times. Yeah.
I got halfway through it, and then had a bunch of other stuff I've been working on, but definitely been trying to get back to it. Definitely went through the first half of it, page for page, for sure.
You read to your part, and you're like, good enough. Good enough.
No, I definitely got past it. My part was a lot earlier in the book than I thought. I actually about twice as far as where mine is, man. But yeah, it's a long book, man. It's definitely it's. I got as long as Cthulhu Invades Oz through this book so far. How about that?
I got Cthulhu Invades Oz length of time. That's
right.
Like
That's right.
That is my absolute new favorite unit of measurement right there.
That is good. All right, so we start off in the war, fighting, doing a thing. So war's coming to Neverland. We kind of do all that. So one of the things I wanted to do, and Tom was supposed to be here, but again, he's California time, so he probably thinks 9. What time is it, James?
6:30.
Yeah, so he'll probably be here in 3 hours.
You're not showing it again, by the way, if that's what you were intending.
No, I put it down for a second.
All right, that's fine.
So I wanted to start out with this kind of letter. One of the things I realized while writing this and putting this together, because the way I do this is I give people kind of low prompts. Does anybody remember what my prompts were? Like the acts, per se, the 3 acts? So?
I don't remember it, but it maybe have been how I came into things. Like I tend to either be like the first one done and in, or the first or the last one. Just tends to be what happens. So I don't remember the prompts very well.
Yeah, I don't remember the prompts off the top of my head, but I know that when we talked about it, it sounded like our story was going to be in Act 2. And when I saw it in Act 1, I was very surprised, because I guess it's just the way that the book, like you said, we started off and just jumped right in, that it kind of necessitated it moving up into the first act.
Yeah. Well, so the acts were, Pan, we resurrect Hook. Pan goes evil for a bit. Tinkerbell dies, and goes stuff. Spoilers. So I told you the stuff. So that was the core arc. But one of the things I didn't realize is a lot of people haven't read the original Peter Pan. If you read the original Peter Pan's kind of an evil prick. And I don't think people know that. Like, he will drop kids, and he makes an offhand reference that sometimes he fails to catch them, and it's okay. Just an awful thing, because he is a child. He doesn't have repercussions for death. Like, he thinks like a child. there's a scene in the like final battle where he joins the pirates for a little bit and starts stabbing Lost Boys. Like he's a little nuts. So I needed to write this to explain Peter a little bit for people who don't know. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to scroll through this because it's words and not comics, but I really think they should read it because it kind of explains who Peter is. And so I gave Tom, I was like, hey, Tom, read this. Here's some things that you need to understand about Peter Pan. So when he becomes evil later, it's not like Travis going like, oh, I've got this cool idea. I'm going to make our good guy evil. It's no, Peter Pan would do that because it's fun. It's not because he's evil. It's because it's fun.
Right. Yeah. He's a pan. I mean, it follows the name, right? And I think it's good with that because a lot of people, it's, their their two introductions, right, are the kind of adaptation of the play from like the 50s, I think. I can't remember who was the main star of that, or the Disney one.
Right.
So they're used to just sort of that very sanitized for, more modern kids version of Pan.
Absolutely. All right. So next as we keep going. So the first story and what window? Okay. So the first story up is we got Richard Dueck, Stan Yak. So this was a late entry. I realized when we were doing it that we didn't write a story for let me revise. I always had a story for the crocodile, and I always wanted to give it to someone. Everyone asked for it, and I just kept saying no. And then it got to the point where, because I wanted to save it for someone, then I got to a point where I was like, oh, this is awkward. I don't have a story for the crocodile. So now I have to give it to someone who has some Marvel or DC cred, because if I don't, people are going to be like, why did you give me the crocodile? Because I always said, like, I really want someone big to have the crocodile. So Rich Dueck, a lot of Marvel DC. Stan Yak, one of the best artists in the business. They did a quick crocodile story for us, and they killed it.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Stan Yak, he's so good. Dave Greshel is back doing some poems. And then this is Ichthia. So one of the things that we've done, John Crother and Don have continued to write a story where Cthulhu rises from the water every time.
Yeah, every book. I noticed that.
And the Cthulhu looks different every time. Like this one, he kind of looks like a conquistador like hat.
It looks like he's been kind of sprayed with pepper spray.
Yeah, he does.
Aren't there some kind of squids that are shaped like that?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Although the horns over his eyes looks delicious. That's awesome.
So he's done this consistently each time, and so he did his little Smeed. He had Smeed, and Smeed kind of kicked their butt, and that's how we ended it. Next, our guy Blake from Blake's Buzz had never written a comic before, begged to write a comic, and I found this really cool character. I am struggling with the name of the crow right now, but this crow has a name. There's one other book for Pan. So there's Peter Pan and Wendy, which a lot of people know, but that's really kind of a play adaptation. It's not really like a book per se. But then there's Peter Pan in the gardens, and this is a character from a crow from that. So the crow basically comes, and the crow was early in Peter Pan's life, and kind of watch him. So we had that character around and kind of give him a warning.
So it's Solomon Crow.
Solomon. Thank you. Clearly, the crow is clearly done imperfectly, as we've all recently seen what a crow is supposed to look like with the unveiling of the crow movie.
This crow does not have a six-pack abs. I'm a little disappointed.
Correct. So
he doesn't look anywhere near enough like Machine Gun Kelly. That's just it.
But this is Mary Bellum. We wanted to write some things. So in the Pan books, they talk about the cycle of Pan, and basically, the Indians kill the animals, the pirates kill the Indians. Peter Pan, there's this big circle of life that goes through. So we wanted to write the animals, and the Lost Boys dress as the animals. Like it goes the whole thing. What's up, Sean? How are you? So we had Mary Bellum show. You may not know this, but she draws My Little Pony on the regular. So we had her come in, and she created this little cartoony little tale, which is a little fun. Kind of get a little cartoon in it from their perspective. And we like to add humor in these books. Humor and horror, is fun for us.
It's always a good mix.
So next one, someone wanted to write a story about the Jolly Roger, so we allowed that to happen. And Gentleman Starkey, by the way, for those who don't know, Gentleman Starkey is a very popular character.
Very, very popular.
You guys may not know about Gentleman Starkey. You may not remember him from any of the things you've read, but he is very, very popular. So
I also want to mention lovely mustaches.
Yes.
Lovely mustache. Oh, yeah. Michael did a fantastic job.
Yeah, his art on this story is really, really good.
I am
in the
jealous
book,
of such facial features.
In the prison book, this was co-written. This was co-written in the printed book. It will have the co-writed credit.
Lindsay
as well.
in jail. I can't remember how that.
Yeah, he was added. In fact, this PDF should be updated. I'll actually update it after stuff. We have an updated PDF.
The updated PDF is the one that's on the one that you shared with people, though. So it's in that one.
Oh yeah, this may be the one that I shared with you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's fair enough. So this is a cool little story. We had they had an idea of the croc and actually
Kaiju fight.
I got a funny story about that. The kaiju fight was actually kind of my idea. She and Jella wrote literally every character you could have in the story.
Right.
Which I think is like every character you can have in the story. And I was like, that's not the way this works.
Right. Yeah.
And it was like it was like she was negotiating like a Marvel book. Like I felt like I was a Marvel editor. Like she's like, all right, I can't have Pan. That's fine. You need Spidey. That's fine for his book, but I can't not have the crocodile. It's like, all right, you can have the crocodile, but you can't have Hook. Okay. It was like a Marvel negotiation. Like I applaud them. They're the only person who's ever like negotiated who could be in and out, which is pretty funny.
That kind of negotiation, I always feel bad for every time you tell the group that we're going to do one of these. Like as soon as you just mention it turns into a dibs fest.
Right.
Giving characters. How about this? No one cares what Tyler thinks until Kyler comes in and just lays down the law. Whoa, everybody. We're not there yet. And then it quiets down for like 2 days. Somebody mentions it again, and all of a sudden everybody's fighting over the crocodile.
This one was great. So this is David Galliano got together with his I can't think of his name right now. I think it's Carlos. Got together to do the Black Pirate. This is the team from Savage Bastards, so they got together to do a book together. Since Savage Bastards, which came out like 2019, I think 2020. Yeah, it was for the pandemic, so 2019. It's really cool. It's got this really cool stuff. A lot of very deep lore. We show some of the characters. Doing a lot of stuff and like more of the modern take of things and how things go. Very, very dark. And got a little book there that people are familiar with, mostly from Evil Dead. So I was right, Carlos. There you go.
Yeah, Carlos Angeli.
So this is another one that I added. Again, this is why this book is so big. We did Tinkerbell. And then I assumed that people would add Tinkerbell to their stories, and they didn't. John, like, this book is so old. What do you got that's new? John, you wrote something in this. If you want to come on,
yeah. So you wrote the M story on that one, right?
But if you want to come in, you're more than welcome. And yes, I think he wants me to plug my Kickstarter. We'll get to that at the end, John. We'll get that at the end. So I had Makozia, who's by the horns, great writer, come in and do a Tinkerbell story because I realized we didn't have enough Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell is like a big deal. Like she's got her own TV show. Like she's a big deal. Like she needed more than just the cameos, so she needed another story. So we gave her a second story. See, that's one of the cool things about doing this so many times. I would have never dared to do that back in the early days of doing this, but now that I've done this, like I'll do whatever it takes to make this book better. And that we've done that every time. So whatever is needed to make these things kill it, we're going to do it. Carmeline and Sebastian came. Sebastian was the first one when we pitched everything. He messaged me and was like, "I've got someone that no one's going to ask for, and I'm claiming it now." I was like, "What you got?" He's like, "I want Pan's Shadow," and I was like, "Damn, that's a deep cut, but a really good cut."
Yeah, good cut.
So it's kind of fun. We get to play with the Shadow. Carmeline killed it with monsters. Killed it with big spreads. I mean, he's so good. Carl's so good.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that was good.
Good pin up by Adam Fields. I like this one a lot.
Yep.
So, and then this is my story. So me and Etienne, I've always wanted to work with Etienne for a full story, and this is the first time I got to do so. And I wrote the resurrection of Captain Hook. So one of the things, I'm going to go big again. One of the things that we always do is we try to keep Cthulhu, the books in continuity. So if you're reading the books, where the books are the starting point of all this stuff. So Hook is dead. He was eaten by the crocodile. So that was a problem I had to fix because you can't have a Peter Pan book without Hook. So we needed to resurrect him. So I came up with a really cool story of resurrecting. And I think it's pretty good. I'm going to be honest. I like it a lot.
So the behind the scenes on that too. I remember when you put out stuff for it, you hadn't said that you were claiming this yet. And I remember I sent you 2 pitches and I said, one's for the resurrection of Hook, but I'm sure you won't take me for that one. So here's the other story.
Yeah, I claimed Hook because I've never claimed. I keep saying I never claimed a main character, but I had Dorothy in the first one. But
right. Well,
Yeah.
So
but you had that very specific. You had Dorothy so that you would hire my kid. So we're all.
But I had a specific need for I felt I needed to tell the Dorothy story for the rest of it to work. Where this is not the case. Somebody else could have written this, but I really wanted to write it. Hook's cool. So yeah, we chop off another random pirate and make him into Captain Hook and make him into this evil old Captain Hook, which is cool. Carrie has been Mike here's friend of ours. How much? Probably 20 years.
Who's that?
Carrie's been our friend for about 20 years, right? Give or take.
Oh yeah.
So she's an artist. So we always invite her to come in. She doesn't do like panel work, but she wanted to create something. I think this is a really cool technical picture. I like it.
It's got a really strong illustrator's vibe to it.
She hand painted that. It's really, really good. Kurt Belcher and Martha came together. They did Tiger Lily. Tiger Lily was a tough one because the pirates, by the way, are super racist. It's a super racist part of the book, so you got to be careful. So we handled it with care, but Kurt did a great job. You could definitely see the Prey influence if you're a Predator fan.
Yep.
I think Prey was definitely influenced on this, rightfully so, because Prey's a great movie. So got a Tinkerbell pin up there. And then Matt, I'm going to let you talk about this one.
All right. So Lost Girl we had a lot of fun with because Travis gave us a prompt on this story, and we took the prompt and did exactly the opposite of what Travis asked us, and we feel like it actually worked out really well. Because he said, hey, I think it'd be really good if you did a story on a lost girl. And what the angle was we took in this is this lost girl isn't really a lost girl. She's actually playing mind games with Peter Pan. She's actually part human and part Bayaki. And she needs a way to get back to Neverland. And she just completely convinces Peter to take her there. And you see through the story that Peter just wants to have fun, and all she wants to do is be mad at him because he won't continue to take her around the island trying to find her long lost father. And again, this is a spoiler alert because that's what the whole rub is for the whole story. That last panel right there is one of my favorite panels ever in any story, whether it's a anthology or any of the books that we do. We think that the drawing and the coloring, you just passed it. The drawing and the coloring right there, just that silhouette on that last panel, the coloring that Sean Baggs did on that just looks so wicked, and just being able to see everybody there in their silhouette after they've deceived Peter Pan and made him completely question what's going on and try to make him a little insane. We really enjoyed putting that together. And C.R. Florence did the art. One of the cool things about it was he really understood and really vibed with the way we write our scripts. And I think there was maybe 2 minor corrections, period, in the entire story. Once he got his first pass, they're like, dude, that's exactly what we're looking for, all the way down.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, and why we didn't put this first, because it definitely could have been first, because, it's would have not said when, Cthulhu came, because he kind of doesn't know that Cthulhu's there, is we wanted to show the forgetfulness of it. And you had written so many times in here where he's forgetful and doesn't quite understand what's going on. we thought it was a good thing to reinvigorate that later in the arcs than right at the beginning, because we talk about it in the letter. It's important because it's going to be important later. Again, I don't want a bunch of hate mail going, spoiler alert, by the way, we killed Alice in the last one. I know it'll be like, oh, you're just destroying all our childhood things. No, this is who he is. And you helped reiterate that. So when we get to the point and then when he turns back, like this is a consistent pattern. So we needed it a little later is why one of those decisions were made. So, and I think it fits just as good as in the beginning.
Yeah, I think the coloring by Sean Baggs in there, Sean crushed it, CR crushed it. We had a lot of fun with that story.
That last panel was gorgeous. Love it.
The coloring in that story is that's good stuff.
Yeah, Sean does such a great job. I mean, I've worked with him in the past. Him and his brother Jake, they're just fantastic guys.
Yeah, I feel like Sean and CR, myself and Steph just all vibed very, very well together, putting that piece together. So look forward to the next one. Hint, hint, Travis.
Sharkop and Damon Horn put together. Damon, like I remember in the last one, like this style, it doesn't. I'm going to tell you guys, it looks kind of like unfinished here, like in here. But when he did a similar thing, and when you see it in a book, it pops. It just doesn't lend itself to digital. I mean, not that it doesn't look great now. I'm not trying to like diminish. I know it sounds like that, but
it reminds me of like old Treasure Island illustrations.
Right, old Treasure Island, like even old Conan was kind of like colored like this and drawn like this.
Yeah, it's like a pulpy. It's got a pulp style kind of to it with its line widths and stuff.
And this is another General Starkey tale because General Stark is very important to everything that everyone's doing in the comic. General Starkey is really what Neverland was about.
Hey,
what's this one about, Peter?
So this one is about William Jukes, aka Bodysuit Billy. He's one of the only pirates that's described in detail in the original story. And it's really funny because they go through, there's like an entire paragraph describing him, and then he says, aye, Captain, effectively twice. He's sent to fetch a cat of nine tails, and Peter kills him off stage. Essentially, somebody just comes back and goes, he's dead. He's been run through. That's it. And I had this idea that, I wanted to bring him back. And obviously it couldn't be quite as ceremonial as Hook. And I got the idea that, a lot of people, they get tattoos. I unfortunately cannot get one for myself. But they get tattoos based off of things that really mean something to them. So I thought maybe he keeps coming back to life, and every time he comes back to life, he gets a different tattoo. And so that kind of lent itself into a story to sort of describe what was happening to him. And, Deborah Lancianese, I worked with her previously on Quicksand. And she banged it out of the park. I mean, it's one of those great ones. She loved the material. I think I handed her a script and she handed me all 4 pages down to inks over the course of about 24 hours.
Yeah, she was super fast. I think you were the first one done.
She was, extremely fast. I mean, and of course, my daughter Emily, she picked up colors for me on this one. And you can kind of see it when you look at it. We tried to kind of make the colors look a bit like they were kind of like a faded tattoo. So all the blacks have a bit of a tinge of blue to them and things of that nature. That tends to happen with older tattoos.
I got a comment here. These are also awesome. I'm gonna get my way into one of these Cthulhu's one of these days. You're all killing it. You just need someone who needs an inker, Sean. You're an amazing inker. So we gotta make it happen.
Sean has gotten so good over the last year. His inks are getting better and better by the day. So good.
Stoney and Ben did this. They did another kind of poem-y, about the mermaids, which is super fun. Because the mermaids are also corrupted and eat some pirates. And
this is a fun one because I remember also pretty fondly in Wonderland with theirs. And
they do a good job with these little poems and stuff.
Yeah, so I was looking forward to seeing that once I saw they were in the book again.
This is Dan Nooks. I love his art. He's got a unique style, and he did this. He originally, this happened twice, by the way. I asked people to do pinups, and they gave me Wonderland pinups, and I was like, And I look back because, I make mistakes. I make mistakes. And both of the times I said Neverland, they just assumed. So he
I
had to
was
redo
going
it.
to ask, is that the Mad Hatter or the kid that's always running the top
that'd be
hat?
Michael.
That's the one he did for
Yeah.
Wonderland is drastically different. They're completely different. But
Yeah,
eventually we'll do a
Michael.
special edition. So now we're dividing lines. So now, much like most of the stories, like people choose sides and do things. We kind of there, and then we get to Tree's story. He starts Act 2.
Yeah, so Lost and Found is actually like less about a Pan character and more about a traditional Lovecraft character, Herbert West, the Reanimator. I'm a huge fan of the movies. I love the original story, and working with Gambit, I'd worked with him previously on Wonderland, and he just got exactly what I was going for here. I wanted to try something a little different. Very little color. Go kind of like Sin City with just the glow of the reanimation and then some blood as well. And it kind of plays on the idea that, like in some of the early stories, it's rumored, it's believed that maybe the Lost Boys, like Pan doesn't grow up, but the Lost Boys do, and when they grow up, he kills them. So this basically has Herbert West, the Reanimator, arrive and follow like follow a do not go here sign, and find a Lost Boy, reanimates his head, and finds out what happened, and then reanimates the rest of basically the pit of bodies that Pan has left behind. To fight against Pan.
So it's a little messed up. It's
darker.
It's darker. But one of the things that we did in this book, and this is the start of it, is let's go big. So Peter Pan is kind of basic if you really think about it, like compared to Wonderland and Oz. You've got fairies, you've got mermaids, you got pirates. That's it for really supernatural things, right? Like that's it. You got Indians. Like there's not a lot of supernatural things, so that allowed us to go in a different direction and tell more Cthulhu stories. So some of the characters. So this is one of many that we have are kind of retellings or like adding more Lovecraft stories into the universe, which I think is super fun. And Tree did a great job.
Yeah, I love how it came out. I love like the black and white was just an idea I had early on. Like I wasn't sure if it was going to work with the glow, but between Gambit just nailing it, and I love some of the lettering is done in the green as well. It's fantastic.
Well, I like the filter that he added. See, it's like got a bend on the page, like it was bent. So that'll look really good on the page. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, Gambit crushed it on that art. That's very unique and definitely a fun little jibe away from the rest of the darkness in the book.
I had this weird idea of just a guy, sitting down opposite like a head placed on a rock and just having a conversation with it, and yeah, he nailed it.
Yeah, it was fun. This is Lane Lloyd, who's become one of my favorite artists. I've seen him do a few things, and this is the Mr. and Mrs. Darlin, and this story is wacky as hell with a crazy art style, like the exact opposite of Tree, which is what I like of the last story, right? Like we got black and white to like crazy colors and images and things like that, which I think really play off each other really well. This is my wife's story, Purveyor of Hooks and Peg Legs. She really wanted to do this story. She was like, where does everybody get their peg legs and hooks? What kind of person does that? And she found a writing when we were doing some deep dives that they mention gnomes or dwarfs. I don't remember if it's a dwarf or a gnome, so I apologize in advance. She's not in the room right now, so I can't tell you, but actually she's right here. Gnome. It's a gnome. So this is a gnome who his job is to do that. So does all sorts of stuff. It's very fun style. This is the book we did cottage cheese. This is the book similar to that. But it's a fun little story about this gnome and some gnomes that live in Wonderland who need things, and a computer creature wants his own pegs and hooks and stuff. So he gets them. So that story as well. And our main character is back. Another story of a good friend, Gentleman Stark.
Gentleman Starkey, yeah.
Dude, that top image of Hook where he's
Right.
grinning and looking.
I want to point out that General Starkey has more screen time than Tinkerbell in this book.
Oh, that's tricky.
Well, he's just more important. That's all.
Right, more important. And I think more than Hook. Not more than Pan, but definitely more than Hook.
Well, the interesting thing with this story too is you've got multiple artists, so the artwork even changes a bit from page to page,
Right.
which is a really neat one in this one. Like, I remember when I was reading it the first time, I was like, "Wait, did I get into a different story?"
David did some weird things here, David Lee. But yeah, so Gentleman Starkey has his second story, and it's as wild as the first couple. Emily did this with John. Do you know anything about this, Peter?
Well, it's Michael, Michael Darling. So I think Judge John Westhoff wrote this one.
Him and Chuck came up with the concept.
Right,
and,
Chuck Pinu came up with the concept and handed it over to John, who then got together with Emily. Explain was there on that, and of course, this actually doesn't take place in Neverland. This actually takes place in London, which is why you have kind of all of that fog, and you have sort of the kind of stovepipe, sort of Victorian, structures in the background and the like. And it's one of Cthulhu's minions finding him and kind of looking him over and figuring out exactly what kind of a man he will become over the course of World War One, and decided to just leave him alone because he'll definitely fall on Cthulhu's side.
Yeah, there's the one thing that we skip in the novels is there's an extra chapter that was added later on that kind of says what happens to Wendy and everything. So we hint towards what happens in those like this, but we don't this happens before that.
In the John story, is that Yagolnak? Is that what the monster is?
Yeah, with the
fantastic.
Just remember his name. Yeah. Yeah, and we had a lot of fun with having things come out of hands.
Yeah.
And then Pat Shan, my boy here, I teamed up with Patrick Blumeyer, did this amazing story about fairies. This is heartbreaking. This basically shows what fairies fear. Talks about how they see things and how things are coming and the dreams. This beautiful picture of like what they hoped for, and as it's all coming around them, and that they're panicking about what's going on. This story is awesome. Like, I can't really describe it. Like, this is an angel. Like, it's wild. Matt Chen killed it. And Patrick is obviously one of my favorite artists. Hence why I hired him for Cthulhu.
Yeah, my very best friend Patrick has done a great job.
Yeah, I was super jealous of that story actually when I was going through it earlier. It's like right up in the eerie kind of stuff that I like to do, but it's like blown away. It's really good.
Yeah, he knows how to kill me. Right here we have our Nana. We have this beautiful story by Wendy. What's cool about this is the one that you guys can read just by scrolling. See, there's no words.
Well, Nana's not a dog of words.
Right. Nana's sad because they all went away. And then we have this one here, Message from the Void. So this is the turn of Peter. So Peter becomes evil, and he chases his shadow, and he meets up with a Cthulhu minion who kind of changes his mind and starts to do the process of, hey, maybe you should come and join us on the dark side for a little bit and play. And he thinks that's a good idea.
I recognize this artwork.
So do I, a little bit.
This is Cullen Bunn.
You gotta scroll back up and let James show his stuff.
Wait, that's James. I'm so sorry, James. James,
I was being polite. Maybe
yes, interrupt. Sorry, go ahead.
I will tell you guys a couple different things. One, that was the most beautifully written script where I didn't feel as an artist that I had to change anything. I didn't have to figure out what they meant or lecture the writer about writing motion into a panel and like nothing. It was the best written script I've ever been handed. It was so easy to do. This art flew from my hands. I got this done in like a week.
Nice.
And I loved doing it, every minute of it. It's really weird though, because Travis is basically having me have Pan fall to the old ones. Peter Pan and the Neverland is like this holy thing in my house. My kids believe in Neverland more than they believe in like a Christian God. And here I am writing like the fall of Pan, or not writing, but illustrating the fall of Pan. It was the whole time. They're like, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" Nothing. Just keep going. And they're like, "Is that Peter Pan?" Yeah, it's Peter Pan. What's he doing? Exploring a cave, looking for a shadow. What else is he gonna do? Nothing. Who's he talking to? Nobody. And then I looked all over the place to get like a visual basis to do the old one off of. I can't remember the name of the old one.
It's it starts with an N. How do you pronounce it?
It's
Tree,
like,
I need your help. NY.
Narlahotep.
Yeah, Narlahotep.
Yeah.
And they talked about him having 3 legs. And so it took a little while for me to like mentally make something that would be malformed enough to like be something that made sense. But I think my favorite panel that I loved everything I did all the way through it, and seeing it in color makes me feel really good about it. But that last drawing of drawing the demon was a lot of fun. The whole thing was fun all the way through, but drawing something that wasn't supposed to have rules other than the fact that it's got 3 legs is really actually interesting. It's not exactly much of a limitation, but it kind of lets you build from there and do something like wacky and inhuman. And I enjoy doing it a lot. And like I said, that script was just really well done. I understood what to do the whole time. It was great. I loved it.
And like third leg can be like a risky thing because it can look silly, it can look awkward. But I think you nailed it there, and it feels like you've got a great texture on the monster too. Like it has this almost like rubbery, the look where you're like, I don't think I want to touch that. Like
that you're supposed to feel that way about everything in H.P. Lovecraft. I don't want to touch that. And whenever you're illustrating anything that has to do with Lovecraft, your first goal is this has to look like something that has a texture that I want no part of.
Yep.
So I was really going for like a pupae or a larva that happened to have claws.
Yes.
I know.
You got it. You hit it.
And then we got Rich Woodall and Cullen Bunn. So Cullen Bunn, the great Cullen Bunn, has worked for every company that I know exists. Put together this amazing story.
You know, the title of that story, that could have gone wrong real quick.
You believe it or not, Cullen Bunn did not put a name on that story. And he's so busy, I named that story because he never replied.
That's what he gets.
But this is very, very cool. If you're a Cthulhu fan, you're going to love it. So Cullen Bunn, if you don't know, if you follow him on Kickstarter, he backs every Cthulhu anything. He loves Cthulhu. Play the Cthulhu game, so we got stuff. We've got a monster we haven't seen before here as well. Another monster. I cannot remember this guy's name either. Damn it. I'm struggling today. Well, do you know that name?
Like an absorbed TikTok.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know that one. But it's cool looking.
Yeah, I mean, Rich absolutely, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, he totally digs drawing monsters, that's for sure.
Hold on.
He put all that good time into the Electric Black to good use.
Right?
I see bits and pieces of like an Elder thing or like Amigo maybe, but I don't know.
Hold on. I'm looking up his script. I know it if I... Sorry, I got it right here. It's on thing. Come on. What's his name?
Yeah, I don't think I saw it in script format. Only the...
the Father Dragons. Dagon.
Oh,
It's a
it's
Dagon.
It's Dagon. Yeah, jeez.
Yep, that fits.
Right, because that's what he named it. Yeah, he just he's like that was all he had at the top was Dagon. Right.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
All right. So yeah, it's wild, and this is Hook like kind of regretting everything going on, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's an interesting turn. Hook regretting.
Yeah, so one of the things we've done with Hook is when he gets resurrected, he's starting to see the error of his ways as Pan is going bad. Like he's like, this is not what I signed up for, and like I think because Pan's a little he doesn't want to be a puppet to anybody, and Cthulhu's making him a puppet.
That's a cool juxtaposition of him kind of going good while Pan goes bad. It's almost as if like Neverland, like the balance of Neverland still tries to like maintain itself, even though things are so topsy turvy.
Yeah. That's
kind of part of the writing, though. Is like the nature of of Neverland itself is connected to like Peter's spirit, and like when he's upset, it's cold. When he's there and being adventurous, it's warm in summertime. The connections between it makes sense to have Hook be an element of that, and I think that's something that most people don't really explore, and I find that fascinating.
So this is the first Pan goes really bad when we see it. Because we hint at it the whole time, Tree Monkey kind of states that Pan kills people, but this is a death. Peter Pan kills a lost boy, so that's kind of tough. We're Philip about that. So that's tough. This is our Pan completely going off the dark side, and this is Detective Malone. So he's a detective in a lot of stories. I can't remember the name of it right now.
The horror Red Hook was, I think, the first one.
That sounds right. I think
he was in, Thomas Malone.
But yeah, he's a well-known detective in the Cthulhu mythos and does some stuff. And again, much like a Tree story, we wanted to add more of that in. So he's hunting this person stealing boys, and Pan, a very dark Pan, pays him a visit. So.
Yeah, Matt Cohn to Noah Ray.
A lot of fun. Matthew Cohn did that with Noah Ray, which is really cool. Return to Neverland. So this is our Michael
brothers.
Yeah, the Bag Brothers are back. So we do a tale like in London, and then we do him going to Neverland and him embracing kind of the dark side because he wanted to go back. Because in the story, Wendy hasn't come back yet. Wendy has not come back has not come to Neverland yet. So people are starting to betray. People are starting to get upset. Pan and Michael join forces, and it gets bad. This is another one that I needed to write. So when I did it, I needed a story that had Pan and Hook fighting. So they had to have their confrontation. I realized that I was going to write it in the ending. I realized that I had too much going on in the ending, so I wanted to give it its own little story. So I hired Frank Martin and Kurt Belcher, who's always drawn in all of them, to do the Hook versus Pan story. So they're fighting, and this is basically Pan Hook trying to convince Pan like, hey, you're being a puppet. Stop this. You got to care about the future of Neverland. Stop this little battle. Like you need to start doing like this. Things get a little dark. He made Pan grow up. This isn't over. So it starts this balance of Pan maybe needing to grow up. Time to put away childish strings. Act 3, our final act. We show another tale that Tyler Carpenter showed back up with. This story made my wife cry because it's about a mother and their kids.
Great story.
This is what's up?
Oh, I was just mentioning how great it was. This is one of the first ones I proofread.
Yeah, he killed it. Like as a writer, like Tyler's known for his art, but like as a writer, he really killed it. And this character is really well known in the Asian community because it was the only foreigner in the Pirates cast. Like they actually labeled that he's Asian. Do you have anything else you want to say about it, Peter?
Not really. Give it a read. It's really a dynamite story. I mean, that it completely caught me off guard. It was not what I was expecting.
And this story was super important to us. We needed to show that Cthulhu loves dogs. So Cthulhu loves dogs. This is Toto. Toto has been with Cthulhu since Oz, and they're hanging out. And Cthulhu finds the barking and the sadness of Nana, and decides to bring Nana to Neverland because Cthulhu loves dogs. And we love this. It's just a fun little story of Nana and Cthulhu, because Cthulhu loves dogs in our universe.
That's right.
This is our continued tale of King in Yellow. He's been consistent in all of them. So in the last one, he got really beat up by the Red King. And he's starting to build his own army and starting to see the error of his ways and starting to bring the Indians on his side. Kind of dark, kind of fun. And this is our big turning point where Tinkerbell is kind of done with Peter's shit of murdering kids and stuff like that. And the Lost Boys are kind of lost, and bad things happen. So, and this is the final story. This is Pan, like after Tinkerbell's death, kind of goes hunting. I wrote this, kind of an ending with Fish Lee. We really did this really good story of Pan all bloody, like realizing Tinkerbell's done, realizing that he needs to be good. So he takes the clock that has been in Tinkerbell and Crocodile the whole time, which is what makes him immortal. He takes that, and he's going to use that in battle against Cthulhu. And he has united all of Neverland to do so. So he makes a call. He does his caw, and unites Neverland. And we end on a cliffhanger. That's the ending of the main book. So for the first time in all of them, we end on a cliffhanger. We've never done that before. We end kind of on a cliffhanger. It is an ending because, a lot of books end where it's not like fully done, but we end kind of on a cliffhanger here. We do have a response to that later, which is pretty cool. And then we get the epilogue where he goes and gets Wendy. Jamie Primark did a great story of him going to get Wendy. He's recruiting people. We do an epilogue in all of them. Last one we kind of showed the crossover between the two, and then we do epilogue of the Lost Boys, of what they're kind of going into, getting ready for war. And then the last one we do is Marbles. So we find this little thing. Richard Fairgate had this really good idea of the last Lost Boy, the youngest one. I can't think of his name.
Toots.
Can't think of Tips. Yeah. So he has gone hiding from Cthulhu and everything, and he meets up with, from the beginning, a very old, disheveled Mr. Smead, because this story has gone on for a couple of years, and he's skinny. He started out really fat. He's now skinny, and they're now hiding at the end of the world. And that's it, guys. That's our story. We've got our covers here. At the end, we've got Angela Alding get a cover. We've got Kyle Willis doing this awesome cover that he always does on the book. And that's
Travis,
it.
I have to ask. We ended on a cliffhanger. Are we going back?
No, we're going to leave it there. I want things unfinished for everyone. I want people to feel unsatisfied and always longing for more. We are going to do a final. I'm going to write the whole thing myself and have some artists. And kind of end this universe. We're going to end the Cthulhu Invades not the Cthulhu Invades universe, but this. We have one overarching story that goes from Oz, Wonderland to Neverland. The next series of books is not going to be connected to that universe. We're going to do another series called Cthulhu Invades Fairy Tales. That series will be literally retelling of fairy tales in Cthulhu manner, but it won't be an overarching story. We're going to take a pause from that. I am going to go back from it, but I'm letting some other things enter public domain, right? So we've got Pooh Bear. We've got some other stuff coming down the pipe.
Got Tigger now.
What's up?
You've got Tigger now, so we're getting closer.
But I really need 3 to do it. So, another good one I could do is Pinocchio. Pinocchio is not a huge seller. Like, it's not a huge, stuff. So I'm really waiting for set of Christian books that are coming in a few years.
So, Travis, I've got a question for you. So you've now put together 3 of these books, and obviously this is the longest of the 3. So let's take length of book out of the equation. Which one out of these 3 was the easiest one for you to assemble which one was the most complicated and most frustrating to actually get all the pieces in place?
I mean, this one we paid for an additional like 40 pages that weren't in our stuff to make the story work, to make it all work. Because I think we're getting, first it was a concept, right? Cthulhu Invades Oz was a concept, like it was pretty easy. And then everyone wrote the stories. And I think we had an overarching story, but I got lucky and could kind of piece it together a little easier. Wonderland, we had a set pattern. We kind of knew what we were doing. And if you're missing a couple characters, there's so many in Wonderland. This one, there's so few characters to make up for. You really got to tell a overarching story. Like Tree was like, sorry, I keep calling you Tree, Michael.
You can call me Tree. It's okay. I consent.
We wanted to tell an overarching story and a story of Pan and Hook and the juxtaposition of both of those as we're leading up to this next big overarching arc. So this one was definitely the hardest. Wonderland was equally as hard, but in a different way. But this one is one we literally had to pay out of pocket to make the story make sense, because everyone went in different directions, and it's harder to tell stories when you can't lean on. Let's be honest, the Darling Boys, though they are different, they're not that different from each other, right? They're not that different. The pirates aren't that different from each other. There's Hook, there's Smead. The rest are kind of the same, except for General Starkey, like Gentleman Starkey.
Yeah,
that guy.
This is like after a while, you just have to like, okay, what can I do? Well, General Starkey's shoes. We'll do a story about that,
So to build on that, and thankfully we had people like Tree and people like Matthew Kahn who were like, I'm going to tell some stories about the Cthulhu thing because we haven't leaned into that. And as we've had more Cthulhu creatures appear in this one than any of the other ones. We've had a couple appear in everyone, but this one has the most. I think
it helps darken it up a lot too, which really helps because if you pay attention to sort of the original stuff from J.M. Barrie, it really is pretty dark.
So, it all leads to the big finale that we're going to do. The finale is going to put all these books together, give it a nice ending for everybody. We're going to tie all the books together, give it one good story arc. I may hire some people to do them, but I'm going to try to write the main story through and hire some artists to do that. We've already been working on it a little bit, but I'm a little behind on my scripts. But I want to tell, and again, I want to say thank you to you guys. It was you. I was scared to write it by myself. I remember writing it in the group and asking about it or asking somewhere, and everyone was like, you should write it. You've told the overarching story. You should do it. You should finish it. And I really applaud that because that's someone's work, right? That's another opportunity that you guys gave up. That I love that you guys love the vision and that you love that you honor that I had a vision for this and that I should put the end cap to it.
Well, I think the farther the project went, the more atmospheric it became, the more easily it was able to get lost in what you were trying to do.
Right.
And, what you wanted and what you were directing, it just became more palpable as time went on.
And then in my ideal world, what I really want to do is I want to do it in a few years, like probably after Cthulhu Invades this fairy tale, like in 3 or 4 years, we're going to come up with either an omnibus or a nice new editions of everything. And I'm going to add stories because a lot of people are like, oh man, I really wish I had the opportunity to write Oz or like a real proper or this and that, and add a few stories. And there's characters that I actively didn't use on purpose so we can have them later, like the Gnome King, for instance, in Oz is a huge character in Oz, and we never touched it. Goal to go in there. I'd also love Emily to go in and redo her work from the beginning because I know she's like the first one definitely does not represent her level of skill now. And,
no, not the slightest.
Anyone who has that arc, I need to do one now. I need to change this up. Allow that to happen. So
yeah, and for those listening in and coming into it the first time, Emily was 14 in the first book, so that's what we're talking about. She's 18. She's gonna be 19 this year. I'm dying. I'm old. It's terrible, but
she actually has her own Facebook profile now too, man.
Yeah. There's a cool story I'll tell you about that some other time too, about why that's there. But yeah, it was funny because when she inevitably caved and created it, that was the first thing I told her. I was like, "Oh, you're getting old now," which doesn't bode well for me. I'm approaching geezer status.
Well, and much like my kids, Emily has grown up with this book too. Yeah. I have the story of dedicated to my kids and being at the right time. Emily has a similar pattern. I always say when I talk to Emily that the pattern is she is the age of the main characters in each story, which is wild.
Yeah.
So you start
That
with
is
Dorothy
wild.
14, and then 16 we do Wonderland, because these books take a year before you guys see them. We're talking about them a year before.
Yeah.
And then we get to Alice, and Alice is 18. She's the old stuff. So it's so awesome. But I thank you guys all for it, for being part of this and talking about it. Anything else you guys want to say about it? A lot of you guys this is the first time you guys have seen the whole thing together.
Only that it was a privilege to be a part of it. Like it's not just the professionalism of the last book or even of this one. It's the entire thing has been a really good experience. I've enjoyed the stories of other people as much as I have the ones I've participated in, and I'm just grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, I echo that for sure. These anthologies, when we're on the show floors, tell people this is not like another anthology. This is not, hey, there's 10 stories that have no rhyme or reason being together. This is a collaborative effort that literally takes like a year for people to have to cooperate and work together to make happen. So it's fun to just be a part of that process, because there's I don't want to say an ownership, but everybody knows that they've really had to work together with people that were not even a part of their story to help make the story be really good. So it's a fun thing to be
ownership
part of.
is a good way of putting it, because you feel like it. This is my book. It's also your book, and it's definitely Travis's book. And I know that because I pick a few of them up from him every show so that I can turn around and sell them.
I think every time you bring together some pretty incredible creators and you inspire a great deal of creativity with with how to tell the story.
Oh, thank you. We're proud of it, and Cthulhu Invades Fairy Tales, for those who are listening and are scared about it. It's different, but it's this more of the same. Like we'll give you some stuff. I just want to trade up how we do it for a little bit, and again build. These shared universes are exhausting, so I was like, what can I take to take a break from the shared universes for a little bit? And then for me, I think when you look at the 100 Acre Woods, they're so pure. Like it's really going to be hard to rip that apart, right? Getting to that. So we got to tell a good story, and then I really want to do it in another book of threes. I want to do it in 3 trilogies. I know a lot of people really want an anthology. I would love to get an omnibus, but even an omnibus, I mean, we're talking 700-page omnibus at this point. Because we do extra stuff and things like that. It'd be 700-800 pages. That's a big book. And who do you sell that to? That's not something Matt and Pete would buy for cons, right?
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
It's definitely a collector's thing, because you'd only sell one a year at a con if you were dragging it every time.
Exactly.
That's not someone's first bite of the universe, as it was.
Right. But I think
it's the people who already have all 3 that are like, oh, a hardbound version with all of them. Yes.
All right, what is that for? So we try to build that. So we're doing some stuff. Wrapping everything up here. I know, James, you have a Kickstarter running. I don't want to go crazy with this because this is going to the backers, but I do want to give you a second just to talk about it real quick. Give a quick overview. People can check it out. Here, let me show it. Does anybody else have anything?
Busy with thoughts of Pooh Bear fighting Cthulhu in my head now.
That would be tough.
I have more a very distinct image of Cthulhu getting stuck trying to get through a doorway.
Oh,
Going
bother.
between worlds is no joke.
That's right.
Going between
So
worlds
you
is
got-
no joke.
You got 47 hours. I'm going to post this tomorrow, so hopefully people will watch this video tomorrow and they'll be able to see it. So tell us a little bit about this book.
Damage Incorporated is a story about these friends. It's a found family kind of friendship where they've all got their different traumatic pasts. They formed a club to hunt monsters down for bounties, things like that. And in this story, it's going to be the first part of a 4-page story where we really start diving into what drives them. And we've got this great villain named the Goblin Queen that is manipulating the situation. And I got to do a lot of dramatic things instead of just banter and just fighting, which is usually what I focus on. I got a chance to do some other things where we begin to explore the why people have so much anger, and it's going to lead into a huge conclusion where basically an entire town gets destroyed, and with some everlasting effects on the characters.
Nice. All right. So that's going to be in the comments on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, that is where it's going to be, and it'll only be up for 57 hours. That's it. So I think that's it. I know I have a Kickstarter live too, but I'm not gonna do that. But that's it. Thank you guys for coming up. Thank you guys for being part of this. And thank you guys who backed this and who are going to watch this video. We appreciate doing this. We're here for an hour. I apologize for everyone. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I'm sure some people are tired. For James, what is it, lunchtime in California? I don't know how California time is.
It's mid-afternoon, something like that.
Right, mid-afternoon. You got to go pick up the kids from school.
Yeah, actually, that's what I'm doing as soon as we're done.
Understand. It's in mid-afternoon. California is weird. Why do they make movies there? Like, and why don't you? What?
It wasn't that weird when they started making movies. That was a long time ago. It was more like Florida back then.
Do you want me to send you the answers to Jeopardy so you can really impress your family?
As much as possible.
Because don't people do that? Like I've heard that people do that. They'll watch it at the East Coast or have someone tell them the answers, like a Wheel of Fortune, so they can guess it all for their family. Because ours already aired at 8 o'clock. Yours is airing in 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, I've actually tried to do that before and got called out on it and looked like a total fool in front of the rest of it. I watched one version at a friend's house who had like a cable channel from back east. Then came home and my dad lit me up 30, 40 seconds into it. Nothing got past that man.
I would do that every time. I can't live in California. I would have bets. I would do whatever I could. All right.
I just appreciated being here and I loved being a part of this project. Damn, dude, I just enjoyed doing it.
Thanks. I appreciate all of you guys. You guys are great. And read Matt Knoll's newsletter. He just announced some returning guests, so there's cool things happening.
Yeah, turn in. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a lot.
Cool.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.